Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to another episode of Coco in the Sun podcast. I am your host, Malika Critchlow. Very, very merry today on this Christmas evening. Happy to be here and connect with you. So it's Christmas today, and I thought I wanted to do a podcast. I wanted to do one earlier, but the day got away from me with cooking and everything. So I um I thought, wow, the day's not over yet. I can still do the podcast. So I'm doing it now. Well, I have to be in a different room, so I had to use a background, but it makes my the video kind of looks a little wonky, but please bear with me. So today we're going to continue reading the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. I hope you have a great day today. If you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. If you don't, Happy Holidays, season greetings. It's a beautiful time of year. It's cozy. It's time. Um, I just I just really like the holiday time. It just feels very special, whether or not you celebrate Christmas or not. If you're not with friends or family and you're feeling alone, I tend to enjoy being alone. So just more time with my movies and my books and cooking what I want and talking to who I want to and spending the day how I want, the time off, so I enjoy that. I think I like the light at this time of day of year as well. It seems a little bit brighter for some reason. I don't know. I know the nights are longer. Um, but I like that too. Cozy, cozy, cozy. So, um, if you haven't gotten to that stage where you just enjoy being by yourself, or it's been an extended period of time and you haven't been able to connect with your tribe hasn't come in yet. Just take it one day at a time and try to fill the days with things you enjoy doing with yourself. The light is the computer is just reflecting on my glasses. I am so sorry for those who are looking at the video. Did not mean for that to occur. So we're continuing with this book. Oh man, I've disappeared completely. I don't think y'all can see the book, The Gospel of Mary Magdalene, by Jean-Yves Leloup, forward by Jacob Needleman. And I got this other book that I haven't started yet. It's the Magdalene Diaries. I think it's based off of Edgar Casey's channelings about my glasses. Mary Magdalene's life. It's written by Robert J. Grant. So I'm thinking this might be the next book. I still can't decide on Dolores Cannon book yet. So anyways, so let's start. Let's see. Sorry, I got a message. Okay. So where we stopped off from they were talking about the materials they have found of Mary Magdalene's Gospels or things that they've written about her. So we're continuing that. The story of the suppression of these alternative Gospels reads like an adventure novel. Book burnings, secret meetings in small sects found out by the authorities, exiles, executions, and so forth. Well, they were strict about it. This whole background thing is looking so crazy. Anyway, ironically, the greatest suppression of early Christian literature began when Constantine became emperor of Rome and declared Christianity the religion of the entire Roman Empire, leading to a process of conversion that occurred over a number of years, from his initial victory in 312 CE to the final defeat of his rivals in 324. In 325, Constantine convened the Council of Nicaea, where it was decided which text would become the standards of the church. Those that we know now as the canonical Gospels and oh, I have to read the sentence over. In 325, Constantine convened the Council of Nicaea, where it was decided which text would become the standards of the church, those that we now know as the canonical Gospels, and which would be suppressed. Those not chosen as standard were attacked, sometimes violently, for many years. Indeed, the bishops at the Council of Nicaea, who disagreed with Constantine's choices, were, were exiled on the spot. The suppression, however, was not completely successful. Some texts survived, passed on since ancient times. Many scraps and fragments turned up in a variety of places over the years, though hardly a significant number. But in 1945, the story took a completely different turn when a stash of alternative texts were found in a large clay jar in the desert at Nag Hammadi near Fu, Egypt. The account of how these documents traveled from the nomadic tribesmen who discovered them through the black markets. One of the papyrus books from the jar even found its way into the possession of the Swiss psychologist Carl Jung and eventually back to Cairo, makes a true adventure tale. The contents of this jar, along with other scraps or fragments from around the same time period, have become known as the Gnostic Gospels because of the association of many of them with the belief system of a group who call themselves Gnostics, from the Greek word gnosis, meaning inner knowing, self-acquaintance, or self-knowledge. Amidst the often very strange cosmology of the Gnostic sects, there can be found what has come to be known as Gnosticism, the belief that spiritual development and salvation are achieved through inner knowing. I, I tend to think that's true. Recent writers have seized on the modern aspects of these texts, finding in them leading edge thinking about intuition and consciousness. In reality, while the Gospel of Thomas, one of those discovered at Nag Hammadi, and the Gospel of Mary Magdalene are often considered Gnostic texts, and while they do share the same emphasis on inner knowing, they do not share the elaborate cosmology of the treatises from the Gnostic sects. Trying to find a better position. The discovery of the Nag Hammadi text gave a much fuller picture of the body of materials rejected early in the history of Christianity and sparked interest in studying other incomplete texts that had been languishing in the vaults of museums. One of these texts receiving renewed interest was the Gospel of Mary, found in Egypt in 1896 and left to the care of the Berlin Museum. The rediscovery of this gospel resulted in a number of translations, the first in 1955. And this translation from the Coptic to French by Jean-Yves Leloup, a scholar who has a deep intellectual and spiritual understanding of the whole range of early scriptures and who has commented on many of them. Besides translating the texts found in Egypt, scholars have attempted to determine their ages. Most scholars believe that the jar discovered at Nag Hammadi was placed there around 350 CE, and that the Coptic texts in it were translations from Greek originals. How old then were the original writings? Complex textual analysis can lead only to educated guesses. Some scholars believe that the text of the sayings of Jesus in the Gospel of Thomas goes back to 50 CE. that it predates the canonical Gospels, and that it may be contemporaneous with the Q text, thought to be the common missing source book for the canonical Gospels. I don't know what the Q text is. Some think that other portions of the Gnostic Gospels date to no earlier than the 3rd century, while others suggest that the Gospel of Mary Magdalene may date to the early part of the 2nd century. Ultimately, all that we know is not enough to allow us to determine the exact historical origins of the Gospel of Mary in either time or place. Once we have exhausted historical certainties, however, we can determine something of the context of this work and its author through other means. We have 4 ways to explore a life story that goes as far back in time as that of Mary Magdalene. First, we can review that available references to her in the canonical Gospels and the Gnostic texts. Some of the Gnostic texts feature Magdalene prominently and convey a very different picture from the Gospels we're familiar with, including the presentation of Magdalene as the intimate companion of Jesus, while the references presented in the canonical Gospels themselves can be examined for their deeper resonance. Second, we can approach the story through the eyes and experiences of the great artists who have focused on scenes from the Gospel references to Mary and have interpreted them through their own intuitions, filtered, of course, through the views of their cultural context. In reviewing art from books and tramping through museums around the world, we have been fascinated by several recurring symbolic interpretations. Magdalene is often painted with gold or with red or golden hair. She is repeatedly associated with a jar used for anointing. And many times she's depicted in the presence of a skull. A third way to approach the story of the Gospel of Mary and the significance of Mary herself is to explore both on a purely symbolic level, much as artists have done with their recurring images. Doing so enables us to pose and perhaps answer the questions: what does this woman represent to us today? And what is the symbolic significance of her words and actions? Last, an approach to Mary and her existence can be a particularly spiritual exploration. What has fueled our personal research is that we perceived a profound and important spiritual truth embodied by Mary Magdalene and her unique relationship with Jesus, one that has been ignored or edited from the last 2 millennia. The canonical Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, mention Mary Magdalene by name a handful of times, though many have assigned to her the identity of other unnamed women who figure in these 4 texts. For instance, there has been some assumption that she and Mary of Bethany, Lazarus' sister, are the same person. Likewise, Luke refers to a woman, a sinner, often assumed to be a prostitute, who brings unguent to anoint Jesus at the home of Simon a Pharisee. And some have believed that Magdalene is the sinner who receives forgiveness after washing Jesus' feet with her tears. Mary's identity as a prostitute stems from Homily 33 of Pope Gregory I, delivered in the year 591, in which he declared that she and the unnamed woman in Luke 7 are in fact one and the same, and that the faithful should hold Mary as a penitent whore. That was a mouthful. What did Gregory have against Mary? It is interesting to note that the Greek word interpreted as sinner in the verse of Luke, to which Pope Gregory referred, was hamartolos, which can be translated several ways. From a Jewish perspective, it could mean one who has transgressed Jewish law. It might also mean someone who perhaps did not pay his or her taxes. The word itself does not imply a street worker or a prostitute. The Greek word for harlot, porn, which is used elsewhere in Luke, is not the word used for the sinful woman who weeps at Jesus' feet. In fact, there's no direct reference to her or to Mary as a prostitute anywhere in the Gospels. Amidst all of the conjecture regarding the identity of Mary, we find some important details that do emerge from all four Gospels. Mary Magdalene is the only woman besides Mother Mary who is mentioned by name in all four texts, and her name, in all but one instance, is the first listed when there is mention of the woman present at an event. The texts also clearly indicate that Jesus heals Mary Magdalene by freeing her from 7 demons, Mark 16:9 and Luke 8:2, an event referred to by Pope Gregory in Homily 33. We learn as well that she is one of the 3, along with John the Apostle and Mother Mary, who waits at the foot of the cross during Christ's crucifixion, John 19:25. And most essentially, we know that Mary Magdalene is the first to see Jesus Christ resurrected from the tomb, John 20:11-18, Mark 6:9, and Matthew 28:9-10. It is because of this that she is considered the Apostle of Apostles, and is so called even by Saint Augustine. Altogether, these few specifics seems so paltry, so scant. Yet they give us enough to work with, if we can understand their condensed meanings. Each of these references translates something more than its face value and provides more insight about Mary. We hear in the Gospels about many healings, of the crowds of sick and needy gathering to receive Jesus' touch or glance. But only in the case of Mary Magdalene are 7 demons released from one person. The usual conclusion has been that this exceptional number must stem directly from the depth of her sin. But there may be another interpretation which lies in the number 7. Since ancient times, spiritual science has understood that human beings have 7 energy centers located throughout the body. These wheels of energy are called chakras in Sanskrit. The understandings of chakras can be traced from the earliest teachings in India to the cultures of Babylon and Assyria, and to the culture of Egypt. From there, it entered the traditions of the Hebrews. There are many references to the sevenfold structure of spiritual worlds in Hebrew scriptures, and thought that the Hebrews themselves claimed to have received as divine revelations, but which also may have been absorbed during their captivities in Babylon and Egypt. The Hebrew menorah reflects this numerical and spiritual connection. The 6 candles reach up to the 7th central light of the Spirit. Today, the awareness of the body's 7 energy centers is the focus of spiritual science of many healers who work with chakras and the 7 levels. Unfortunately, the fact that Mary Magdalene is freed from the possession of 7 demons has resulted in greater focus on the perceived stigma of her past as interpreted in Homily 33 than on her cleansed state after this healing. Only in 1969 did the Catholic Church officially repeal Gregory's labeling of Mary as a whore, thereby admitting their error. Though the image of Mary Magdalene as the penitent whore has remained in the public teachings of all Christian denominations. Like small erratum buried in the back pages of a newspaper, the church's correction goes unnoticed while the initial and incorrect article continues to influence readers. But it's important to remember that Jesus Christ does relieve Mary of the seven demons, or perhaps those aspects that can cloud vision and energy at each of the seven chakras. Presumably, she no longer possesses the seven deadly sins: pride, lust, envy, anger, covetousness, 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 gluttony, and sloth. In their place exist the corresponding virtues. The way has been cleared for the seven virgins of light. If her purification is viewed in this way, it makes her the most thoroughly sanctified person mentioned in the New Testament. Imagine being completely cleansed of prejudice and old grudges, fogs of illusion, hereditary obstacles of health, all desires. Once healed, she can truly see the spiritual truth that works in all things. She can see the barbarity, the barbarity of other human beings, as well as the transcendent beauty of Jesus Christ's teachings. In modern terms, her heart and energetic centers are open. On the third morning after the crucifixion, Mary Magdalene feels a call to visit Jesus' tomb. She takes with her a container of unguent, perhaps one in the series of ancient oils used to assist the dead through the underworld and in the realms of spirit. She alone meets Jesus Christ at the tomb in his resurrected body. It is easy to imagine that she receives an important teaching here, one that can be comprehended only by a person whose seven demons had been lifted. The evangelists, John, Mark, and Matthew, all relate this first appearance to Mary of the risen Christ. The brief verbal exchange that then occurs between Christ and Mary, as related in the Gospel of John, has spurred much debate. When she understands that the man she has assumed is the gardener is actually her teacher, she speaks with intimate words, Rabboni, and reaches towards him. Jesus Christ responds in the King James Version, John 20:17. Do not touch me. The Latin translation is noli me tangere. These words have been interpreted as confirmation that Mary Magdalene still carries some of the taint from her sins. In other words, some perceive Jesus' words as, "Stay away from me, you soiled woman." Indeed, many statues with the inscription Noli me tangere depict a transcendent Jesus Christ, with a woman below him groveling in the ultimate shame of rejection. Were Mary Magdalene still soiled from her past, however, then we would have to conclude that Jesus Christ is not really an effective healer. Oh, child, they are putting in the work here. That he hadn't really done the job of cleansing her of her demons. If we look at Christ's words in the original Greek, the meaning translates a little differently. Me mu aptu uses the imperative mood of the verb aptien to fasten. A better translation would be, don't hold on to me, or don't cling to me. Now for the full line. Do not cling to me, for I am not yet ascended to the Father. The last part of the sentence takes on the greater importance. Jesus Christ refers to the nature of the resurrected body that exists between the earthly body and the ascended body, a nature which we would think of as the eidolon, that is, the pure and ideal image. When we let go of the emphasis of Mary Magdalene's rejection that some hear in Jesus' words outside the tomb, and see this instead as a teaching about the other worlds in which we can exist, we can then understand that these words may indicate her very special role. She is the one, perhaps, because of her purified state, the only one who can deliver Christ's message. Go to the brethren and tell them, I ascend to my Father and your Father, and my God and your God. At this point, she becomes, in the canonical Gospels, the Apostle of Apostles, which the other Gospels from Nag Hammadi, the 3rd century, Pistis Sophia, and so forth, expand upon. Jesus clearly asks her to represent a teaching to the others, to the men who were not to be found at the foot of the cross during the crucifixion, the men who did not believe Jesus himself when he told them he would rise. Do we know what she taught? The Gospel of Mary Magdalene is the primary source of the teaching that she received. Jean-Yves Leloup's commentaries add much insight to the text, which is missing some critical pages, and restores this text to a place of importance, which other Gnostic compilations have ignored. In a way, this teaching received by Mary at the site of the resurrection is the most important one of all. Tradition hands us a picture of the final moments of Jesus Christ's life on the cross. 3 figures stand at his feet, 3 central people through whom his teachings will go out into the world. John 19:25, Mother Mary, John the Apostle, and Mary Magdalene. Mother Mary will become the center of the disciples and will focus the descending power of spiritual fire at Pentecost, whereupon the disciples, filled with the Spirit, will go out and preach the gospel, evangelize, convert, and baptize. The so-called apostolic succession means that official Christianity has come through the successive initiations of priest to priest, beginning with Peter. Mother Mary is the human progenitor at the beginning of this line of succession, becomes the mysterious figure onto whom the faithful project all hidden needs. The tradition of succession, this spiritual stream beginning with the virgin birth of Jesus, concentrates on the outer work of the church, on telling the good news of the Gospels, on proselytizing to convince and convert others to do this understanding. I don't really understand what I just read. The second figure, John, will accompany Mother Mary to Ephesus for her final years, become the bishop of Ephesus, and eventually suffer exile in the island of Patmos, where he will receive and record a powerful revelation along with his version of the gospel story. One can gather all the Johns, including John the Baptist, into John the Apostle's mystical teachings and the way of mysticism that has grown from them. I haven't read that. I didn't know John the Apostle has a book. I wonder what the revelation is. Does anybody know? What can we identify what lives today for Mary Magdalene's connection to Jesus Christ and her presence at the cross? We see the apostles taking the work of Jesus into the world, but Magdalene was not present at Pentecost. Based on our studies of Mary Magdalene, we imagine the idea of proselytizing did not resonate with her direct experience of the divine. Perhaps her kind of wisdom was not something she could preach about. Instead, Mary Magdalene focuses on the inner worlds of initiation. We imagine that not through outer pomp and pageantry, but through gnosis or direct knowing, she seeks union with the divine. Hers is a path of sacred marriage accomplished within. Her path emphasizes inner preparation, introspection, and inner transformation. Perhaps in addition, she also represents the feeling world. She carries the sensitivity of sensuality in the truest meaning of the word, finding the divinity in the senses. In addition, The presence of Mary at the crucifixion and at the tomb, beyond illustrating her love for Jesus, also indicates her comfort and familiarity with death. The many artistic depictions of Magdalene with a skull may suggest that this has long been seen as part of her identity. In fact, Golgotha, the hill where Jesus was crucified, means place of the skull. Perhaps visionary artists of the past, in their representations, were implying that Magdalene understands the thresholds of death. Her appearances with special oils to use in anointing Jesus Christ place her in the tradition of priests and priestesses of Isis, whose unguents were used to achieve the transition into the threshold of death while retaining consciousness. Jesus accepts and encourages this anointing, explaining to the other disciples that she helps prepare me for my burial. This statement implies Jesus' knowledge that Mary is aware of what is happening at a deeper level than the other disciples. We can ask ourselves, by what authority does she anoint him? But we cannot ignore the fact that the very word Christ means anointed one. How can it be that the Christians have pushed into a dark corner the female minister of the rite of anointing? After one anointing of Christ by Mary in Mark 14:9, Jesus remarks, "Verily I say unto you, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached throughout the whole world, that what she has done here will be told in remembrance of her." How is it then that all Christians do not remember and revere this memorial so clearly marked by their teacher? Why do most people know her as the reformed prostitute rather than as what seems more likely, a ministering priestess with a deep understanding of the threshold of the spirit world? In the legend and stories told about Mary Magdalene, there can be found some hint of what she may represent to us today. As one who was cleansed from sin, who remains with Christ throughout his death on the cross, and who first witnesses, understands, and believes Christ's resurrection, she represents a human being who's open and available to true inner knowing, who can see in deeper, clearer ways through a unique spiritual connection to both earthly death and the divine. In southern France, there is a strong belief that Mary Magdalene journeyed there along with a small band of followers of Jesus Christ after the chaos that prevailed in Jerusalem. It is said that she lived in the caves that extend throughout the area and developed a kind of clairvoyance, clear seeing, that permitted her to become intimate with the caverns and passageways without the use of torches. The caves, carved in the region's limestone, extend for hundreds of miles and make up the most extensive subterranean system in the world. There's one cavern at St. Baum in the hills east of Marseille, where Mary is said to have lived the last 30 years of her life in intimate connection with this hidden part of the earth. Each morning, according to another legend, a group of angels lifted Mary Magdalene up above the summit of the cliffs, where she would listen to the entire choir of angelic hosts, the divine sounds of original and continuing creation. So I think that's we have completed the preface. So the next thing is the introduction. There's a lot of things before. Let's see how long the introduction is. We'll do that the next day. Wow, her introduction was very before we get to the gospel of Mary. So that's going to take us a few days. I thought maybe we'd read it this weekend, but I don't think we'll finish it. Anyways, guys, so that's it for today. I hope everybody's doing well. and taking time with themselves and enjoying the moments that we have now of peace. I hope you are centering yourself. And when I say that, I mean loving yourself here on earth and things that bring you joy here, so that as the external world may have some things that we don't enjoy, we can find things we enjoy here and just submerge ourselves in it while still being aware of what's going on so we're not too lost, but not so engrossed in that external energy that's clearing that we lose our joy. You know, try to hang on to what makes you happy, what brings you joy, the little things, the everyday things. You know, I know it's really simple, but things that you like to drink, places you like to go, people you like to talk to, things you like to do, hobbies, clothes that you love to wear that make you feel good, music, books, reading, topics of interest, research. I don't know. People have different interests that bring them joy. So try to make sure you ensure that your joy is well watered and taken care of, even if it feels crazy in all the world. So what else? I think as I look at this journey I have been on, and it's a journey I don't think that ever ends. Um, Self-love is integral, I've said before. It unravels everything else. The dreams tell us things that we need to know that can help us progress or understand what's going on or what we're dealing with. So find some form of dream interpretation that works best for you, or even ask your, I don't know if you want to call your guides, your angels, your divine self, your higher self, your divine team, whatever you want to call it, to help you to understand what is being communicated in your dreams in the best way for you to understand it. I think the dreams do help. And so the self-love and the dreams do help, and being patient with yourself and gentle with yourself. And in self-love, you really gotta love even the aspects of yourself that you don't deem good or worthy. They are. They are. It is just a different aspect of yourself at a different stage of your life through your maturity. It's like not loving who you were as a baby because a baby did baby things that seem silly to you now. But you didn't know that because you were developing, you know? So it's the same way you were developing and probably did some things that you're not proud of. But you didn't have the view that you have now. So we still love ourselves even with aspects of ourselves that we don't think are worthy. Even now, I'm still developing and I'm still going to have aspects of myself that don't understand things and it makes mistakes. Still love me through it. So that's important. That's what allows you to not judge yourself or others. I will admit I'm still working through it, but I think I'm progressing and getting better with it, you know. Um, so yes, those are the things I wanted to mention, you know, just your self-love, even the aspects of yourself you don't think are worthy, your dreams, trying to understand what they're trying to tell you, focusing on the things that bring you joy on a daily level so you can cocoon yourself with those things should things not appear as peaceful as you would like it on the outside, in the outer world. Because you want to maintain your joy even if things get crazy, but not lose your humanity. You know, maintaining your joy doesn't mean that you lose your humanity or, um, don't have feelings about things that are happening. But we don't want it to stop us from hoping and knowing that good things come, even if it doesn't look like it, right? Don't want that hopelessness to creep in. So that's it. Still learning a lot from the soul conversions I'm doing with Ann Tucker. Um, that program. I am in the second section, which is called Soul Convergence 2. It's from the feminine aspect. So the feminine aspect first heals the masculine aspect from a feminine aspect, and then it will heal the feminine aspect from a feminine aspect. Whereas Soul Convergence 1 was healing from a masculine aspect, the masculine aspect, and from a masculine aspect, the feminine aspect. So it's really cool and very thorough. Every time I think, what else could there be to heal? I find out. I even remember one night I was like, I hadn't had like a lot of dreams, or I wasn't understanding any of the dreams. And sometimes I can have a dream and kind of have a understanding of the feeling I had in the dream. Maybe not what all the symbols mean, but I know what I was feeling and stuff. And I was like, you know what? I don't think anything's being healed at this point. Like, what is going on? Like, how long is this program? Like, does it really need to be all of this? And let me tell you, that night I said that they give my good dream to let me know, yeah, you're still healing. There are underlayers upon underlayers upon underlayers of things you are harboring, negative feelings, hurts, sadness, bitterness, pettiness about. And these things need to be accepted and loved. And you need to be aware of them. It doesn't need to be buried so deep that you don't understand yourself. You need to understand yourself and where you were and why you were like that and love yourself still. So it's been quite the journey, and I think it's pretty effective. She said something the other day in one of we have ever so often throughout the journey, she'll have a get together, like a Zoom with everybody on the program, in that program. And she was saying, I hadn't heard this aspect of it before, but that it heals um these things that you need to heal, right? Through your dreams instead of it having to heal through your life, living it out. I had not heard that before. So I'm grateful for that because I have no idea how that would have unfolded and how long it would have taken me to process all of this healing um, by living it out. So that's clearing and stuff like that. So I'm really grateful. Oh my God. I'm grateful to understand myself more, to know what my feelings are. Some of it I buried so deep I forgot I felt like that. So I'm grateful for the whole process. I think it does work. I don't think it works the same for everyone. And I think some people expect a dramatic experience, and some people may have that, but for me, I found it very subtle and deep. Very subtle and deep, you know? And like you have to pay attention to it. Like something might seem minor and you dismiss it from a dream, and then you think about it like, whoa, that's really telling me something. It really means a huge thing. It's going to shift my perspective completely. She had also said too, I think that as you go through your program, and I've seen a few people mention it, that they feel like their lives get better because they don't have to live out these healing lessons in real life and you're actually living it out in your dreams because you experience these feelings in your dreams. Um, they see their life start to feel better. And that's good because I hope that it does feel like my life is feeling better. Like, I am connecting with people that authentically enjoy, but when I'm not connected, I can enjoy myself and not feel left out or rejected or as much. Way less, way less. I may still have those feelings, but they twinges and they move on, and I can identify and be like, "Ooh, girl, you're really in your feelings today, huh?" So, um, so yeah, I think it would have played out. I think I would have gotten there, probably not as in such a sequence fashion. Um, might have played out over a longer period of time, and it would have played out in my real life. Maybe some of it in my dreams too, because it seems like so much I can't even imagine how all of that would have played out in my life. It would have been bang, 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 bang. But they tell me good things too. They tell me when I'm progressing and when I'm healing, when I move past stuff. And they tell you some of what your gifts are. So I am curious about the whole gifts thing because I think I think what happens is as you heal, you have more access to yourself and to your connection with your divine team, and therefore your gifts, right? Because then you can communicate a little bit better. I think, but some people say, and I've seen people talk about it, being connected suddenly and quickly and having their gifts come on board. And they haven't done what I can tell, all of their healing and stuff yet. So I don't really know if I don't ever know if you'll ever be all healed before the flash of light that's supposed to come. Um, so I think you just reach a point where you're able to access and communicate a little better. And I think that expands as you heal more. I think Anne was saying it's like if you can imagine like what is she like a column of light that is narrow at first, and as you heal, it gets wider and wider to allow more information. And I think that's what she had said. It's something like that. So, but I do see people that have sudden gifts that just come online, you know? I'm not sure if it has to do with if they're healing, or maybe they just have something to do here, because everybody's story is different. And everybody, it might be too that their preference for the experience they came to have would be to have it suddenly too. I don't think may not be confined to what's best for everybody has a different way that they choose to enjoy life, to experience life, maybe that. I'm curious about the gift thing though. So that's it for today. So just to go over self-love, right? Even the parts of yourself you don't think is worthy of love, just see it as a child that's growing and developing. And you still love that child, but you understand that they will make mistakes or do things that they're not proud of, but it doesn't mean that they're not worthy of being loved, right? And then making sure you find the things that bring you joy in daily life so you can support yourself if things should not be so lovely on the outside, you know? Don't want to lose your joy. And your dreams being messages for you on what you need to do or what's best for you or stuff like that. So, yeah. Sometimes things are really clear and they're not symbolic, though. And sometimes you understand the symbols, but sometimes I'm just so baffled. What were you trying to tell me here? And I really love my dream analyst. She really, things that I miss, patterns that I don't understand or didn't see when she goes through my dream, she'll say, "Oh, this is what's going on here, and this is what you're healing. Do you feel like that?" And she's always on point. I always do. I wonder if you know what? The next time I meet with her, I'm going to ask her if she has if she does dream analysis um, for just people who are not in the Soul Conversions program, and if I can give her contact information if anybody needs help with interpreting their dreams and learning how to interpret their dreams. That would be cool. Anyway, guys, have a very merry Christmas or very merry holiday and take time with yourself. And we will chat again, God willing. This weekend we'll continue. But we didn't even get to the gospel yet. Now we're going into the introduction. So I think we did the forward, the preface. Now we're doing the introduction before we even get to the gospel. And the introduction is longer than both. So we might be on that for a good 3 days or so. But anyways, it's so good. I'm so happy to do this. I just didn't want the day to go by without it. Anybody thoughts yet of 2025? Do you guys do resolutions? I don't really do resolutions, but I do tend to see what intentions for the year or what vibe I feel the year is showing me, giving me what vibes I'm getting for myself for the year. Sometimes it doesn't go as I think it will. Although the theme though tends to be on point. But it doesn't it either show me it's sometimes it shows me what I think it is from a different aspect that I didn't think of. So I don't know if that's wise to do. Maybe I should just let the year show me what it is. But I already have thoughts for the year for 2025. Do you guys have any thoughts? Anyway, have a good night, guys. We will talk this weekend or soon if I don't get time this weekend. Bye.